Okay, guys, we're going to get started on Act 4 of Romeo and Juliet. So we've done Acts 1 through 3 so far. Just a little bit of a recap of what we just saw in Act 3. We had Mercutio and Benvolio out in the streets. Benvolio tries to convince Mercutio to come inside. Instead, they run into the Capulets. Tybalt asks to talk to them to ask where Romeo is. That's truly who he's looking for because he has this bone to pick with Romeo for the fact that he gatecrashed the Capulet party. And Mercutio instead decides to taunt Tybalt, and Tybalt gets angry, but then Romeo comes, and Romeo says, I don't want to fight you, Tybalt. I can't fight you because I love you now, because he doesn't tell him outright, but I love your cousin, so now I, by default, also love you, so I'm not going to fight you, I'm not going to try to kill you. And then Mercutio still gets involved. Mercutio and Tybalt start fighting each other. Romeo tries to break them up and distracts Mercutio, and then Mercutio gets stabbed by Tybalt. Tybalt flees the scene. Romeo is saying how he either has to kill Tybalt has to kill him, or they both have to die, because Romeo cannot handle living on the same earth as Tybalt, because Tybalt has killed his friend, and it's basically kind of his fault. So Tybalt comes back. Romeo and he start fighting, and then we see it in the one little stage directions. They fight. Tybalt falls. Romeo kills Tybalt. Now Tybalt is dead. Romeo calls himself Fortune's fool. He says that he has such bad luck that he was the one who had to kill Tybalt. Prince Escalus comes. He says that he's tired of the fighting between the Montagues and the Capulets, and Mercutio was actually his relative, so now he has a stake in this fight. And then Romeo is banished to Mantua. Mantua is just going to be another town, just like Verona, but he is officially banished, so he cannot be in Verona anymore unless he wants to be killed. Then Juliet finds out the news from her nurse, albeit the nurse kind of confuses her by making her think that it is Romeo that is dead first, not Tybalt. But then Juliet, still kind of siding with Romeo by the end of Act 3, is really sad that now her husband has been banished from Verona, and even says that the banishment of Romeo is worse than her parents dying, or anyone in her family, including herself, dying. That banishment is worse for her to handle. So Act 4 is going to see Juliet try to figure out how to deal with this banishment of her husband. Okay. So go ahead and pull up this packet. It is attached to the Google Classroom assignment. We're going to go through this together. Something to keep in mind, remember, Act 1 is exposition, Act 2 is rising action, Act 3 is climax. We just hit that climax. Romeo is banished. Romeo has killed Tybalt. Mercutio is dead. And then this following action is going to see everything fall into place so that resolution can happen nicely at the end of the play. And then Act 5 is going to be that resolution. So Act 4, Scene 1 picks up with Friar Lawrence and Paris discussing the upcoming wedding to Juliet. Juliet rushes in and interrupts their conversation in a frenzy, and that is where we are going to pick up. So it is very hard for Juliet to leave her house because she is a young woman. More eyes are on her. You see that Romeo gets to move around the streets a little bit more because he's a young man. But because she's a young woman, kind of those gender norms, that she is inside the house a lot, inside the house, and she's not allowed to kind of go out by free will. So they think, her family thinks, everyone in the Capulet household thinks that she's going to Friar Lawrence to make confession. And that is when she runs into Friar Lawrence to instead talk to him about Romeo's banishment, because we know that Friar Lawrence was actually the person who married Romeo and Juliet. But when she runs in there, Paris is there. Remember, Count Paris is that guy that Lord Capulet agreed to let marry Juliet because of the death of Tybalt. He was like, yeah, we'll let Paris marry her, and you're going to get married on Tuesday. It's going to happen really quickly. And I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to post a timeline today so you can see how quickly things in this play happen. But he has been, or Capulet's basically accepted Paris as Juliet's husband, and so now Juliet has to marry him. And so she is coming to Friar Lawrence to ask for any advice for how she might get out of this. Okay, let's go ahead and start reading. We're going to be reading in the Shakespearean English on the left side, and then if you want to look at the right side, we will probably switch to the modern English a little bit down into Act 4. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So Paris has exited at this point. He's no longer on the scene, and now it is just Friar Lawrence and Juliet on the stage together. Okay, no one else is on the stage. Juliet says, "Oh, shut the door, and when thou hast done so, come weep with me, past hope, past cure, past help." Friar Lawrence interrupts her and says, "Oh, Juliet, I already know thy grief. It strains me past the compass of my wits. I hear thou must, and nothing may procure it, on Thursday, be nix be married to this county. So basically what he is saying is, I've heard Paris has come to talk to me. I know that you have to get married to him. Juliet says, Tell me not, friar, that thou hearest of this, unless thou tell me how I may prevent it. So Juliet interrupts him and says, I don't want to know that you know. I only want to talk to you if you have a solution for me. So she's kind of in a frenzy right now. She's throwing herself around in Friar Lawrence's room. If in thy wisdom thou canst give no help, do thou but call my resolution wise, and with this knife I'll help it presently. Shows him a knife. So basically, Juliet is so dramatic right now. What she does is she says to Friar Lawrence, give me a solution, show me how I can make it out of this. And then she goes, and if you can't, bang, I'm going to kill myself. She pulls that knife out, giving him that kind of ultimatum there, help me or I'm killing myself. God joined my heart and Romeo's. Thou are hands and ear this hand be thee to Romeo sealed, shall be the label to another deed. Or my true heart with treacherous revolt turn to another, this shall slay them both. Therefore, out of thy long experience time, give me some present counsel, or behold, twixt my extremes and me this bloody knife shall play the umpire, arbitrating that which the commission of thy years and art could to no issue of true honor bring. Be not so long to speak, I long to die, if what thou speakest speak not of remedy. So basically what she's saying in that whole section is just her being, again, dramatic about how she's going to kill herself, how she cannot continue living because her soul is bound and her heart is bound to Romeo's at this point. So what she's saying is, you have to give me some counsel, you have to tell me how to fix this, or I'm going to die. You have to tell me how everything you say now must be a remedy, must be a plan. And we're going to see that he's actually going to give her a plan here in just a minute. So Friar Lawrence says, Hold, daughter, I do spy a kind of hope which craves as desperate an execution, as that is desperate which we would prevent. If rather than to marry County Paris, thou hast the strength of will to slay thyself, then it is likely thou wilt undertake a thing like death to chide away this shame. So basically what he is saying here, so if you are already willing to kill yourself, it seems that you might also be able to try something very similar to death, something I have in mind that's very similar. That copest with death himself to escape from it, and if thou darest, I'll give thee remedy. So he says, I have a plan, and if you dare to do this, it's going to be dangerous. If you dare to do it, I will help you. Juliet says, Oh, bid me leap rather than marry Paris, far from the battlements of yonder tower, or walk the thievish ways, or bid me lurk where serpents are, chain me with roaring bears, or shut me nightly in a charnel house, o'ercovered with quite with dead men's rattling bones, with reeky shanks and yellow chapless skulls, or bid me go into a new-made grave, and hide me with a dead man in his shroud, things that to hear him told have made me tremble, and I will do it without fear or doubt, to live an unstained wife to my sweet love. So what she is saying here is that she would rather jump off of a tower, be chained up with roaring bears, lie in a house with a bunch of dead, or a tomb basically, with a bunch of dead bones, go where serpents are surrounded by snakes. She's basically saying she will do all of these horrible things rather than marry Count Paris. That sucks for Paris. Basically, his character in this play is just, Juliet, I love you. Will you marry me? And then she goes, I'd rather be chained up to bears and jump off of a tower rather than marry you. She says that right there on the end, that last sentence, and I will do it without fear or doubt to live an unstained wife to my sweet love. Basically, what she's saying there is that she doesn't want Paris to touch her. She doesn't want to be married to Paris because then that would make her a stained wife, and she wouldn't be that pure wife anymore for her sweet love, which is Romeo. So Friar Lawrence says, Hold then, go home, be merry, give consent to marry Paris. Wednesday is tomorrow. So we see how quickly this is happening. She's supposed to be married to Paris on Thursday. It's Tuesday right now, so she has one day in between. And so what Friar Lawrence is saying right here is, go home, say that you will marry him, and now I'm going to tell you about my plan. This is very important. I want you to pay attention. This is Friar Lawrence's plan for the rest of this play. Tomorrow night, look that thou lie alone. Let not the nurse lie with thee in thy chamber. Shows her a vial. Take thou this vial, bring then in bed, and this distilled liquor drink thou off. So what he has said so far is that you need to be alone in your room. The nurse cannot be in there with you. You need to go to your bed. You need to take this potion that's in this vial, and you need to drink it. When presently through all thy veins shall run a cold and drowsy humor, for no pulse shall keep his native progress, but sure cease, no warmth nor breath shall testify thou livest. The roses in thy lips and cheeks shall fade to paly ashes. Thy eyes' windows fall like death when he shuts up the day of life. So what he is saying here is that when you take this potion, you lay down in your bed, It's going to look like you're not breathing anymore. You're not going to have a pulse. All the color is going to drain from you. You're straight up going to look like you're dead. That is the potion that Friar Lawrence is giving to Juliet in this scene. Each part, deprived of supple government, shall, stiff and stark and cold, appear like death. And in this borrowed likeness of shrunk death, thou shalt continue 42 hours, and then awake as from a pleasant sleep. So what he is saying here is that you will sleep like this for 42 hours. You will take this potion, and it will make you seem like you are dead. Your body will go stiff. You will not be visibly breathing, and you will not have a pulse. So this will go for 42 hours and then awake from as a pleasant sleep. So then you will wake up. It's basically like a Sleeping Beauty situation here. Now, when the bridegroom in the morning comes to rouse thee from thy bed, there art thou dead. Then, as the manner of our county is, in thy best robes uncovered on the bier, thou shalt be borne to the same ancient vault where the kindred of all Capulets lie. So he is saying that Paris will find her in the morning, the nurse will find her, they'll see that she's dead, and then they will take her, they will dress her up, her body up, and they'll take her to the tomb. There's a Capulet tomb. What I want you to think of this is like not like they're going to put her in the ground. A tomb is more like a building, a stone building above ground where you go in and all the bodies are buried in that tomb. So normally think of it, I'll post a visual for it too, but kind of like shelving. So the body just lays there uncovered. So you're not really being buried in the ground. In the meantime, against thou shalt awake, shall Romeo by my letters know our drift, and hither shall he come, and he and I will watch thy waking, and that very night shall Romeo bear thee hence to Mantua, and this shall free thee from thy present shame, and no inconsistent toy nor womanish fear abate thy valor in the acting it. So, Friar Lawrence has told Juliet his entire plan at this point. You will pretend, you will take this vial, you will lay down in your bed, it'll make you seem like you're dead. Your family will come in, they will see that you're dead, they'll take you to the tomb, where I will have already at that point communicated to Romeo via letter that he should come home because I have this whole plan. He's going to lay out the plan basically for Romeo, and then Romeo will come to the tomb. Juliet will wake up. They will live happily ever after. And Juliet, how she responds to Friar Lawrence's plan is, give me. Oh, tell me not of fear. So basically what she says is, sure, give it to me now. I'll do this. I'll do everything you asked. Friar Lawrence, giving her the vial, says, hold, get you gone. Be strong and prosperous in this resolve. I'll send a friar with speed to Mantua with my letters to thy lord. When you focus on that line, I'll send a friar with speed to Mantua with my letters to thy lord. So at this point, there's no like postal service. Someone has to take the letters. So he's going to send Friar John with the letter to Romeo to Mantua. So we're going to see that is a kind of iffy variable there. Juliet says, love give me strength, and strength shall help afford. Farewell, dear father. And they exit separately. They both leave the stage. Now, we're going to take a little bit of time right here to make sure that we are very clear on Friar Lawrence's plan for Juliet. So, the first thing that Friar Lawrence is going to do, or what he is asking Juliet to do, is go home, make sure she is alone in her bedroom, and drink the vial of potion. So he says, you need to go to your bedroom, make sure you're alone, make sure the nurse is not there with you, and you need to take this potion that will make you seem like you are dead. Okay? Then the second part of the plan is that the Capulets will find her and will take her to the Capulet tomb. The next part of the plan is that Friar Lawrence will send Friar John with the letter to Romeo, so that Romeo is aware of what is going on back in Verona. I keep turning it to red. Romeo will come back to Verona and head to the Capulet tomb in order to be reunited with Juliet. And the last one, they will flee to Mantua, where they can live happily ever after. Okay, that is Friar Lawrence's plan. Please make sure you know that plan. That's going to be something that you need to know, is the steps, those 5 steps of Friar Lawrence's plan. Okay. So Juliet returns home, talks to her father and the nurse, then retires to her room where she will begin carrying out Friar Lawrence's plan. It's going to happen immediately. Remember, Act 4 is setting up that resolution. Basically, Friar Lawrence's plan is going to be the resolution of this play. So we're continue reading on the Shakespeare side here. Let's pick up. Juliet, God knows when we shall meet, or sorry, Juliet says, farewell, God knows when we shall meet again. I have a faint cold fear thrills through my veins that almost freezes up the heat of life. I'll call them back again to comfort me. Nurse! What should she do here? So she tries to call back the nurse. She's having this moment of doubt. We're going to see that this whole little soliloquy that Juliet is, remember, soliloquy is being delivered alone on the stage. She's alone in her bedroom, is delivering, is kind of full of doubt that this is actually going to work. My dismal scene I needs must act alone. Come, vial, holds out the vial. What if this mixture does not work at all? Shall I be married then tomorrow morning? No, no, this shall forbid it. Lie thou there, lays her knife down. What if it be a poison, which the friar subtly hath ministered to have me dead, lest in his marriage should he be dishonored because he married me before to Romeo? So, the 2 initial doubts that have come up first. The first one is, what if it doesn't work, and then I still have to get married to Paris tomorrow? The second one is, what if the Friar Lawrence has poisoned it? Because if anyone found out that I'm already married to Romeo and he was the one to do it, that would be dishonorable for him. So maybe he's just trying to kill me, get me out of the picture. So those are her 2 doubts she's come up with so far. I fear it is, and yet methinks it should not, for he hath still been tried a holy man. How if, when I am laid into the tomb, I wake before the time that Romeo come to redeem me? There's a fearful point, shall I not then be stifled in the vault, to whose foul mouth no healthsome air breathes in, and there die strangled ere my Romeo comes? So her third doubt is that she will die in the tomb before Romeo ever gets there, because there's not enough fresh air. So that she will wake up, Romeo takes forever coming, and that she dies. Or if I live, is it not very like the horrible conceit of death and night, together with the terror of the place, as in a vault, an ancient receptacle, where for these many 100 years the bones of all my buried ancestors are packed, where bloody Tybalt, yet but green in earth, lies festering in his shroud, where, as they say, at some hours the night spirits resort? So her fourth doubt is that she's going to be afraid. If she wakes up and she's alone in here and she's surrounded by all of these bones, and then also Tybalt's fresh body just laying there, that she's going to be really afraid, especially when the ghosts start coming. Alack, alack, it is not like that I, so early waking, what with loathsome smells and shrieks like mandrakes torn out of the earth, the living mortals, hearing them, run mad. Oh, if I wake, shall I not be distraught, environed with all these hideous fears, and madly play with my forefathers' joints, and pluck the mangled Tybalt from his shroud, and in this rage, with some great kingsman's bone as a club, dash out my desperate brains? So her fifth doubt is that because she will be so afraid, she will go crazy, and she will actually use the bones of her ancestors to bash her own brains out. So her mind's running crazy right now. She's alone on the stage delivering the soliloquy, all of these crazy thoughts. Oh, look, methinks I see my cousin's ghost seeking out Romeo, that did spit his body upon a rapier's point. Stay, Tybalt, stay! Romeo, 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 here's drink, I drink to thee. And Juliet drinks the potion, falls dramatically down on the bed, hidden by curtains. So that is on the stage, okay? So then in this transition of scene, the nurse comes back in, it becomes daytime, and the nurse tries to wake up Juliet and finds out that she seems to be dead here. Remember, she's not dead. She's just in this kind of sleeping state that was caused by the potion. So we're going to switch over to the modern English now, because this gets a lot when all of these characters are like yelling and screaming and figuring out that they think their daughter is dead. The nurse says, Mistress, hey mistress, Juliet. I bet she's fast asleep. Hey lamb, hey lady, hey you lazy bones, hey love, I say. Madam, sweetheart, hey bride, why don't you say a word? You take your beauty sleep now? Get yourself a week's worth of sleep. Tomorrow night I bet Count Paris won't let you get much rest. God forgive me. All right and amen. How sound asleep she is. I must wake her up. Madam, madam, madam. Yes, let the Count take you in your bed. He'll wake you up, I bet, won't he? She opens the bed curtains. What? You're still dressed in all your clothes? But you're still asleep. I must wake you up. Lady, 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 oh no, help, help, my lady's dead. Oh, curse the day that I was born. Ho, get me some brandy, my lord, my lady. So the nurse at this point has figured out that Juliet's dead. She thinks Juliet is dead because she is not I'm responding to what she's saying. Lady Capulet enters. Lady Capulet says, "What's all that noise in here?" The nurse says, "Oh, sad day." Lady Capulet said, "What's the matter?" The nurse says, "Look, look. Oh, what a sad day." Lady Capulet says, oh, my child, my reason for living. Wake up, look up, or I'll die with you. Help, help, call for help." Capulet enters. "For shame, bring Juliet out here. Her bridegroom is here." So Paris is here, waiting to see Juliet. The nurse says, "She's dead, deceased, she's dead. Curse the day." Lady Capulet says, "Curse the day, she's dead, she's dead, she's dead." Capulet says, "No, let me see her." "Oh no, she's cold. Her blood has stopped and her joints are stiff. She's been dead for some time, she's dead, like a beautiful flower killed by an unseasonable frost." The nurse says, "Oh, sad day." Lady Capulet says, "Oh, this is a painful time." Lord Capulet says, "Death, which has taken her away to make me cry, now ties up my tongue and won't let me speak." So all of these characters are really dramatic right now, and they're feeling the sadness for Juliet's death. But I want us to remember, it was a kind of brief synopsis in the last part of the scene. We didn't actually read it, but Lord Capulet said that if Juliet didn't marry Paris, didn't listen to him, that he was going to cast her out, so that she would die on the streets, and pretend that he wasn't her daughter. Lady Capulet was supporting him in that. So now they're pretty much turning their tune and singing a different song now that she's dead. Keep that in mind, and we're going to see something very similar happen at the end of the story. Friar Lawrence and Paris enter with musicians. It's just very convenient that Friar Lawrence is here as well, because they're literally about to get married. Friar Lawrence says, "Come, is the bride ready to go to church?" He's acting here. He knows she's not ready to go to church because she's laying, pretending to be dead. Lord Capulet says, "She's ready to go, but she'll never return to Paris. Oh, son, on the night before your wedding day, death has taken your wife. There she lies. She was a flower, but death deflowered her. Death is my son-in-law. Death is my heir. My daughter married death. I will die and leave death everything. Life, wealth, and everything belongs to death." So Lord Capulet's getting really emotional and really overwhelmed now. Paris says, "Have I waited so long to see this morning only to see this?" Lady Capulet says, "Accursed, unhappy, wretched, hateful day. This is the most miserable hour of all time. I had only one child, one poor and loving child, the one thing I had to rejoice and comfort myself. The cruel death has stolen from me." The nurse says, "Oh, pain, oh, painful, painful, painful day. The saddest day, most painful day that I ever did behold. Oh, day, oh, day, oh, day, oh, hateful day. There has never been so black a day as today. Oh, painful day, oh, painful day." The nurse gets really annoying in this scene that she won't stop saying the same thing over and over again. She's an unnecessary character. Paris says, "She was tricked, divorced, wronged, spited, killed. Death, the most despicable thing, tricked her. Cruel, cruel death killed her. Oh, love, oh, life. There is no life, but my love is dead." And then Capulet says, "Despised, distressed, hated, martyred, killed. Why did this have to happen now? Why did death have to ruin our wedding? Oh, child, my soul and not my child, you are dead. Oh no, my child is dead. My child will be buried, and so will all my joys." We're going to see you see in that scene right there that seems to be a little bit more concerned that the fact that the wedding is ruined. The wedding is not going to happen. Now, Friar Lawrence finally is going to interrupt all of these ridiculous characters being ridiculous. He says, "Be quiet, for shame. The cure for confusion is not yelling and screaming. You had this child with the help of heaven. Now heaven has her. She is in a better place. You could not prevent her from dying someday, but heaven will give her eternal life. The most you hoped for was for her to marry wealthy and rise up the social ladder. That was your idea of heaven. And now you cry, even though she has risen above the clouds as high as heaven itself. Oh, is this love? You love your child so badly that you go mad, even though she is in heaven? It is best to marry well and die young, better than to be married for a long time. Dry up your tears and put your rosemary on this beautiful corpse. And in accordance with custom, carry her to the church in her best clothes. It is natural for us to shed tears for her, but the truth is we should be happy for her." So basically what Friar Lawrence is saying here is pull it together. She is in heaven. She's in a better place. Isn't that what you actually want for your daughter to eventually make it to the kingdom of heaven? And Capulet says, "All the things that we prepared for the wedding party will now be used for the funeral. Our happy music will now be sad. Our wedding banquet will become a sad burial feast. Our celebratory hymns will be changed to sad funeral marches. Our bridal flowers will cover a buried corpse. And everything will be used for the opposite purpose from what we intended." Friar Lawrence says, "Sir, you go in, and madam, go with him. And you too, Sir Paris. Everyone prepared to take this beautiful corpse to her grave. The heavens hang threateningly over you for some past sin. Don't disturb the heavens any more by trying to go against heaven's will." Capulet, Lady Capulet, Paris, and Friar Lawrence all exit. So at this point, all the Capulet thinks Juliet is dead. They take her to the tomb. That is the end of Act 4. That is setting up the resolution of this play, which we are going to see in Act 5. That's it for today, guys.